So to start out, we're going to be talking about the cultural aspects of India. The primary language that is spoken is English, so there's no need to have translators because you will know how to get around. And the two main religions that are found there are Hinduism and Islam, and those are important to take into consideration because Hindus do not eat beef because they believe cows are holy, and Muslims do not eat pork or drink alcohol, so those are important to think about when you're giving gifts or going out to eat with the business partners. When you eat, you will usually use your hands, and you should try to use your right hand because the left is seen as unclean. So that's also very important to remember. And for dress, both men and women should dress conservatively, like dark-colored suits. Women do not wear any tight-fitted clothes or sleeveless outfits. You can wear dresses as long as they're appropriate length, but you can also wear business suits or pants. In the workplace, the business structure definitely reflects the social aspect, the hierarchical, because there's one main manager, boss, and they send down information down the chain of command. And those instructions are not questioned at all, and the employees will take those and do exactly as they're told. Even if they believe it is wrong, they will still do it. And when you go into India and you want to form a relationship, it's important to look high up in the chain of command because those are the people who can force change and can make things happen in the business, whereas people who are lower don't have as much say. For meetings, they may seem informal because they may start late or end late, they're flexible with time, but it's important for you to arrive on time so you seem punctual and ready to start. The first meeting you may go into, you may not talk about any business-related information because it is important to form a relationship with the people you are working with. And so it's important to not rush through those conversations of getting to know you and background information because those will help future meetings. Contracts, they're not an agreement, they're merely just a statement to show like the best circumstances of the situation you're in right now. So just remember that they're not similar to what we have here in the United States. And for women, it's now becoming more popular for women to be managers in the business place, and that does not hinder the respect that they earn. So positions regardless of gender. If a woman is manager, they will be respected the same way as a male manager.
So when you go to India, it'll be very obvious that you're a foreigner. So a lot of times, don't be surprised if people are staring at you or looking at you or giving you a lot of attention. The sanitation and hygiene in India is very poor. They have a lot of diseases over there, so you need to make sure that you get all of your shots and vaccinations before you go over there because you have a really high chance of getting sick. There's also, in general, it's not too much of like a culture that revolves around theft, but there still is theft and you'll be targeted as a tourist because they know that you're carrying a lot of money on you and they'll target you at times where you might be the most distracted or overwhelmed. There's also a lot of begging, so it's important to premeditate your reaction to how you'll handle it. If you end up giving money, then you'll be flocked by everyone else, so it's probably best to not succumb to it. It's really important that you don't do any public displays of affection, not that you'll necessarily be in that position since we're traveling as a company, but just in case, it's really important to not do that. Indians are a very conservative culture, and so they strongly disapprove of PK. Dining etiquette, it's very important that you remove your shoes before entering a home. It's a sign of respect. It's oftentimes a store or somewhere along the streets, people will be taking off their shoes before entering some sort of building or residence. It's best to take the cue from if there's shoes outside or if you see somebody else doing it, then you'll know that you should do it too. As Katie said, it's important to eat with your right hand. The left hand is considered unclean, but you can also take cues from the people around you. If they're eating with both hands, then you can do the same, or if they're eating with silverware, then you can do the same as well. It's respectful to refuse offers of food and drink the first couple times, but they'll continue to offer it. So on this third time, it's usually okay to accept it. but the first time and the second time, it's polite to politely refuse. And as Katie also said, Hindus don't consume alcohol, but you can take cues from, again, the people that you're with, but usually because it's so conservative and their religion is Muslim, they don't consume alcohol. And it's also rude to finish your plate because in India, the host isn't supposed to leave the guest with an empty plate at any time. So they'll think that they did a bad job as a hostess or host if you finish if your plate's empty. So it's important to greet people properly in India. They're very conservative, so they don't like to touch each other or have close contact, so don't ever hug anyone or kiss anyone or anything like that. So if it's a man greeting a man, usually a handshake is an appropriate greeting. Woman to woman, also handshake, and then a common greeting is namaste, which means peace. And man to woman, usually let the woman initiate contact. Oftentimes, if it's an American man and Indian woman, the woman won't initiate any sort of contact at all, so don't be surprised by that. And so if you're greeting elders, it's important. American tourists aren't expected to do this, but if it's somebody really important, it would show us respect to kneel down and with your right hand touch the feet of the elders and then put your hand on your chest. And like I said, avoid close contact such as hugs.
Okay, now on to the ethical part of our presentation. India has a lot of fraud, and so that is one thing to be aware of. There are a lot of preventative measures, such as the Rights to Information Act of 2005, that helps companies give their information, make it public, and that everyone can look at, and so to hopefully get rid of these fraud problems. But there's a lack of implementation from the government. They have all these different regulations and things, but the government officials also may take part in this fraud, and so therefore it is not enforced. Additionally, bribery is a problem as well. The highest number of incidences of bribery do happen in high companies or in the government officials. Work ethic. Very important to be loyal to one's employer, and that is like the golden rule of work ethics. Blue collar versus white collar. It's very important to have money is not important in India compared to the type of job you have. White collar is seen as good, blue collar is seen as bad, regardless of you could be making more money in one or the other. And then there is a common phrase to separate milk from water. So they try to cut a lot of corners, and one way is they'll say the milkman can pour water into the milk and then sell it to you instead of just getting all milk. And so it's important to separate the milk from the water to see what is the fraud, what is fake, and what is real. Also with the work ethics, they do not do well with just giving a task and expecting to be finished. It's important to follow up and get feedback for it.